Civility is dead.
Don't it seem like
Alright, man, so I'm finally back. I know I took a long hiatus, but I got a lot of stuff to talk about. A lot has happened since I've been away. I mean, the news cycle has kind of been really slow, which is a part of the reason I've been away. But there's some stuff that went down that I definitely got to talk about. So I'm going to start with this Abba and Preach versus Hassan Piker, aka Hassan Nabi. As y'all know, I always give y'all the background before we jump into anything. So, background. Abba and Preach are YouTubers that kind of talk about social issues, any cultural issues, react to Jubilee, different things like that. They're kind of in that culture space. They're comedians, dancers. I mean, they've done documentaries. Again, I hate to box people because people do so much, especially on this YouTube space. So, don't want to box them. Hassan Piker is like, I want to say the biggest political Twitch streamer out there right now. You know, he does kind of the debate me bro thing, different things like that. So he's a left political Twitch streamer, but again, don't want to box him. I don't watch his content, so I don't know what else he may do, but not gonna box you. So why are we here? we're here because this goes back to the whole transgender women in women's sports debate conversation that's really been going on. And so how this started was Abba and Preach, you know, kind of made a video responding, I guess responding or commenting on one of Hassan's videos where he kind of said, you know, like, everybody's transphobic, who says that it's not fair for, it is not fair for trans women to compete. Excuse me. It's not fair for trans women to compete in women's sports. Y'all gonna bear with me. I'm a one take Jake. I'm not doing this over. I got too many other things to do. So yeah, you know, they kind of responded to that, and I'll show you guys a little bit of the video clip, their kind of edited version of it, because I'm having trouble finding Hassan's, especially on Twitch. So I'm just gonna throw what Abba and Preach put out, and let's check out this video. Let's see what they did, and we'll be right back.
I love the argument. I don't even need to see it. I don't even need to see it to know what the argument is, which is going to be, and I'm going to tell you right now, the argument is probably going to be, no, it is unnatural to be trans. Because that's how it, literally, when you argue with fucking transphobes, the only argument they have is relying on what other people also feel about trans people, because it's the normative position to be fucking transphobic.
So yeah, man, basically the crux of the argument is that anybody who says anything, who's arguing from the position that transgender women should not be in women's sports is a transphobe. I mean, that's literally his point. Abba and Preach disagree. I disagree. You know, it's a fairness and equality thing and an equity thing for those people who are not thinking about you know, what it took to get women's sports to where it is today. You know, they're not being reasonable when they say you're just being a transphobe. And this is what I'm talking about, and this is going to dive me right into our lesson that I'm going to jump off of. We got a couple lessons that we're going to learn, and that's not the only video I'm going to show. This one's going to kind of be a long one. But first lesson. And the reason I open this title with "There's no civility," we just go to name calling. We just go to calling people afraid of trans people. We call them transphobic. Oh, you hate trans people. You're this, you're that. When we're just talking, you can't even debate the topic anymore. Like, we can't have a civil conversation around it. Like, yes, there still needs to be a conversation about it, especially when it affects other groups. Like, and this is what I mean by people don't know how to attack sectionality. Like, they struggle with that. They would rather dismiss you and just name call you, which is a part of the problem. Like, one, the people that you're name calling, you never get them to even come around to your position and or think about your position in a different light. Two, you just turn them off. And two, what does that get? Does that make you feel good that you name call them? Like, calling people transphobes for saying that, it's just not. We're dealing in reality. And I'm going to stand on what I said in the previous video. Like, I'm dealing with the reality of this. The reality of this is not fair. There needs to be rules to make it fair for women in sports. You cannot have people, especially somebody like, and I'm going to bring this up again, I only did one video on it, but Leah Thomas, who swam as a male in college and then transitioned into swimming as a female. Like, that stuff can't happen. Like, it needs to be equal across the board. And there's a reason that this is only a topic about trans women. You don't hear this coming up with trans men. Because they're at a disadvantage when they compete against men. They just are. They're at a disadvantage. So I outrightly dismiss the premise that the only way you can argue this is from a position of a transphobe, because it's not true. It's just not true. So yeah, this went on to another video that we'll jump into right now that I'll show you. Where basically, I've preachers just are mocking Hassan with how many times he used transphobic in a video, and like them going back and forth with this whole thing. So let's check a portion of this video out. I'm not gonna play the whole thing, but let's check a portion.
A little transphobic. Don't get so mad about it. Everyone is transphobic. Okay, everyone's transphobic. A lot of people have transphobic attitudes. Trans people are transphobic before they recognize that they're trans. They have internalized transphobia. Anytime a trans woman wins any kind of prominence, it makes it into the news cycle. And you never hear about them getting their fucking asses beat over and over again. The fighter that Joe Rogan mentions regularly is a perfect example of this. They always go back to that same example where the trans woman fighter, is it Fallon Fox, had like 1 or 2 victories and has lost routinely, but you never hear about how much she has lost since then.
Bro, you're lying again. You're lying again.
Hold up. He might not be lying.
What is it with you and lying? You're lying again.
Hold up. He might not be lying. He just might not know. And
no, he does not care. It's women's sports.
I don't know why you bring up Fallon Fox. She's 5-1, all of them by knockouts. In fact, she's cracked a few skulls through those victories. Most of the MMA community said she's untalented. She's just physically dominant. And that's why she was winning. So you use her as an example of like some fucking conspiracy. Bro, you don't know what you're fucking talking about. And if you really don't care about this topic, then just stop talking about it. Because judging by the effort you put into your arguments, we can tell you don't care. So just shut the fuck up.
Why? Why? Because they have advantages. Why is that unnatural advantage wrong? Why? There are a million unnatural and natural advantages that people have. Never advocate to fucking ban that. As a matter of fact, if you advocated to ban those things, sports would not be good. You're just saying it's unjust because you think it's unjust, and that's it. You're not making an argument, okay? You're saying it's clearly unjust without making an example as to why, without even saying why it's unjust. And if your argument only revolves around like, oh, it's unjust because like the average cis man has like larger or better testosterone production than the average cis woman or whatever the fuck, even then you have to admit that sports is awesome because there are competitive advantages. Otherwise, everyone will be the same fucking height. Okay? You don't watch the fucking under 6 foot league for a reason. But you consider some of those natural advantages and some of those unnatural advantages as well, whether it be like, your diet or your material conditions, your upbringing, your development, your access to fucking sports programs, anything like that to be perfectly valid, whereas a trans woman on HRT is not valid. Is not valid enough to be a part of the fucking athletic competition against cis women. And that's ridiculous.
So I want you guys to understand the basis of the argument. The argument is this. People are advantaged in so many different ways. As a result, what's the issue with trans women who have this advantage of being born males going into these sports? That's his take. His take is we should defile the category because people have advantages on every... Then what's the point of having female sports at all?
Fuck it.
Yeah, man. So they kind of respond to him in a verbal takedown that I'm on their side of this argument because what he's saying makes no sense, and also just him as a person makes no sense. Like the fact that he's a socialist but a millionaire. People who live hypocritical lives tend to have hypocritical takes. That's just what I'll say. But I'm with Abba and preach on this. Like, I 100% agree. So why are we still going with the video? If you saw that tail end portion that I tagged on, that was actually like a separate third video, and that just shows growth, you know, and that's the point that I really want to attack today, you know, minus the other stuff that I addressed. The real purpose of this video is to attack the growth point, like sitting down and having that reflection and growing, and that's what we can learn from this whole situation. Is like they got into this whole beef with him, you know, and his ideas are stupid, but they got into this whole beef with him, and they still took the time to sit down and reevaluate themselves and try to check themselves and correct themselves. And that's something that we should all do. Even when you feel you're in the right, you need to sit down and reflect. I feel like a lot of times in our lives, we don't sit down and reflect on all the things that, you know, we reflect on the things that went wrong. You know, a lot of the time we reflect on the things that went wrong. But we don't reflect on the things that go right in our lives either. And like, you know, maybe we could have did this and maybe it would have went a little better. You know, just taking the time to do those things as well. Like just reflecting on the impact that you have, especially on this social media space too. I think I applaud them for taking the time and, you know, trying to grow and also squashing this whole thing and, you know, ending that. So props to Abba and Preach for ending that. Hassan Piker, I tried to listen to what you said. I don't know what you're talking about. So yeah, let me know if you're in a growth stage in your life. If you feel like you can sit down and think about things, whether they go right or wrong, and figure out how you can grow as a person. And if you feel that's valuable, I feel that's valuable. I feel like that's something we should all be doing, and that's a lesson, the biggest lesson that we can take away from this whole situation, not the drama. I mean, you know, the drama's juicier for whatever it is, and, you know, it's good for clicks and stuff like that and content, as they said. But at the end of the day, we need to grow. And that's what this channel about, that this channel is about, and that's what this show is about, you know, growing as a person and like sitting down and reflecting on those things. So take the time today, sit down and reflect on some things in your life and see where you can correct them. I know I will be doing that as well. So if you like the video, comment, let me know what you think about this whole situation if you're abreast of it. I'm not going to keep going into the details because I don't really care about that. I just love the fact that they recovered and like took something to grow from this whole situation. I appreciate that. But go ahead and like, comment, and subscribe. Let me know if you like this video. And I will be back again when I'm ready to run my mouth.